Hello. We are Group 2. We present to you
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone. My name is Sofia Wajah binti Sofia Amer. As your moderator today, with 4 other panel, we from Group 2 will discuss about the law relating to the sale of good or SOGA in Malaysia. So here, as introduction of our discussion today, I will introduce to all of you our first panel, Ms. Fatina Bila binti Muhammad Razali, to share about the differences between sale and agreement to sale.
Okay, thank you to the moderator for the question. First, let me tell you about what is the meaning of sales of goods. As we know, in Malaysia, there is a lot of problems that can occur in the selling process of goods. The law related to the sale of goods in Malaysia is named as Sales of Goods Act 1957. So what is the meaning of sales of goods? Sales of goods is defined as an agreement in which one party, which is the seller, transfers or agrees to transfer the property in goods for the monetary consideration known as the price. The term of property refers to the overall concept of ownership rather than specific property. Next, in the Sale of Goods Act 1957, there is a difference between sale and agreement to sell. The property in the items is transferred from the seller to the buyer by a contract of sale, which is referred to as a sale. An agreement to sell is a transaction in which the transfer of the property in the goods is to occur at a later date or subject to the fulfillment of some conditions that must be met later. When the time limit or the conditions under which the property that will be transferred expire, the agreement to sell becomes a sale. Last but not least, Malaysia usually adheres to the British principle of caveat emptor, which is let the buyer beware. This means the parties are free to transact business with one another on terms that they agree upon. The parties are thought to be knowledgeable and capable of looking their own interests. In general, the parties to a transaction owe no obligation to protect the interest of the other party to a transaction. It is vital to remember, in the marketplace, consumers are always people who lacks bargaining power. Consumers, for example, require more safety in the rising era of modern computer technology. So, that's all from me. I hope my explanation can answer your question. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Fatin, for the knowledge that she has been shared with us just now. So let's move to the next question from Ms. Husna Fariha binti Abdul Muttalib regarding the applied condition under Section 16, Subsection 1, Subsection A and 16, Subsection 1, Subsection B.
Thank you, moderator, for your question. Section 16, Subsection 1, Subsection A and Subsection B is known as implied condition as to fitness for particular purpose and implied condition as to merchantable quality. Section 16, Subsection 1, Subsection A said that in order to invoke this section, 4 elements must be met. One of the elements is the customer must inform the vendor of the specific reason for which products are required. The example of this section case is from Priest versus Lice. Aside from that, Section 16, Subsection 1, Subsection B, implied condition of merchantable quality, specify that the product purchased must be suitable for the purpose for which they were purchased. One of condition is it can apply to things sold under a trademark or patent. The example of this section case is from Wilson versus Rocket, Cockrell & Co.
I see. So that's all the explanations about the condition under Section 16, Subsection 1, Subsection A and B. But can you tell us more about the differences between these two sections?
The differences between these two sections are Section 16, Subsection 1 and Subsection A, the goods cannot be bought under patent or trade name. This means that the goods should not be bought under the trade name, and if that happens, the contract can be invoked. Aside from that, the buyer must inform the vendor of the intended use of the products. Meanwhile, under Section 16, Subsection 1, Subsection B, the goods can be sold under patent or trade name. The buyer must be aware of the specific purpose for which the products are being purchased.
Well, thank you for an amazing answer and explanation, Miss Husna. Now, without wasting our time, please welcome Miss Siti Khairunisa binti Khairul Anwar, who will be speaking on us about the principle of Nemo de quod non habet. A part of that, what is the exceptions under the Sale of Goods Act 1957?
For the question, Nemodak Konon habit, or sometimes known as Nemodak rules, means no one can get what they do not have. The person that are sold by a person who is not the owner or who does not sell them under the authority or with the consent of the owner, the buyer acquires no better title to the goods than the goods that the seller had. However, sometimes the Nemodak rule is not always fair to the bona fide purchaser. Therefore, there are exceptions in this rule to protect the rights of a purchaser. The first one is the transfer of title by estoppel. For example, when the true owner of the goods, words, or by any act of omission leads the bona fide purchaser to believe that the seller is the owner of the goods, the buyer can have the good title. The next one is based on Section 27, a sale that has been made by a mercantile agent. For example, based on false listing case, the owner delivered his car to a mercantile agent to sell within a specific price, but the mercantile agent failed to do so and sell the car to a bona fide purchaser lower than the specific price. Hence, the buyer can own the good title. Thirdly, the sale was by joint owners. Section 28 SOGA provides that any sale that made by a joint owner is valid, but with two conditions, which are sole possession of the goods must be one of the owner of the goods that have provision by the co-owners, and the buyer must be a bona fide purchaser. Next, the sale under a avoidable contract. In Section 29 SOGA, it is stated that if a person has obtained the possession of some goods under avoidable contract under Section 19 to 20 of the Contract Act 1950, and he sells the goods before the contract being rescinded to a bona fide purchaser, the buyer receives the goods title of the good. Other exception that apply in a Nemodak rule is sale by the seller in possession. A seller has made a sale to a buyer and transferred the property in goods but remain in possession, which means that even though he already sold the goods to a buyer, he still have the possession of goods. The seller is able to sell them to other bona fide purchaser, even though the property of the goods go with them. Lastly, if based on Section 30 subsection 2, this section says that if a buyer obtains the possession of the goods with the consent of the owner, but does not receive the title or documents of the goods, he can actually pass the good title to a bona fide purchaser because he has the possession with the consent of the owner.
Alright, thank you very much to all panels for addressing this value knowledge with us. Now, moving along with our session today, the next question is, explain about the overview of remedy of an unpaid seller, the right of lien, to Miss Shahira binti Ahmad Sabri.
I will answer the question given by Sophia, which is the remedy of unpaid seller, the right of lien. First of all, when the buyer breaches the contract, it was included that the buyer was failed to take the delivery, failed to accept the goods, and failed to pay for the goods. Unpaid seller happened when the buyer failed to pay for the goods, which means the payment has not yet been done to the seller. This falls under the section 45, subsection 1. This section said that when the whole price of the good has not yet been paid, or the bill of the exchange or a negotiable instrument was dishonored, there were two remedies of it, which are against the buyer and against the good. For the right of lien, it was under the remedy against the good. Lien is generally a claim on property for payment of some debt, obligation, or duty. Based on Section 47, subsection 1, the seller may exercise the right in three situations. Firstly, where the goods has been sold without any stipulation as to credit, which means the goods were sold without credit. Secondly, where the goods have been sold on credit but the credit term was expired. And thirdly, where the buyer become insolvent, the other words is the buyer become bankrupt. According to SOGA 1957, Section 49, subsection 1, the right of lien can be terminated over three situations. First situation is when the seller delivers the goods to the courier or other third parties for the transmission to the buyer without receiving the right of disposal of the goods. Secondly, when the buyer or his agent lawfully obtains the possession of the goods. And the third situation is waiver therefore. Waiver therefore means the seller said that he doesn't want to exercise the right, hence he cannot change his mind after making the choice. I hope that answered the questions that Sophia gave about remedy of unpaid seller, the right of lien. Thank you.
So, what can I conclude with our sharing today? The Sale of Goods Act was carried out by the primary reason to protect the consumer. Therefore, the objective was to ensure that the consumer is protected in terms of usability of product and the quality of good. That's all for our discussion today. I hope that the knowledge from our sharing today will be useful for all of you, and have a good day, everyone.